Dear students, today we shall discuss about GDP, Gross Domestic Product. In the previous class, we discussed about Indian business environment, the classification of Indian business environment as internal and external. Again, in external, we had two types. One is micro and macro environment, and the factors under each of these, that is micro and macro environment, we discussed along with examples, and the sectors, as we have three different types of sectors: primary, secondary and tertiary, and how these sectors are performing in today with respect to the developments and the characteristic feature of each sector, and few statistics also we had discussed. Today we shall discuss about again another important concept, that is GDP, that is Gross Domestic Product. The value of a final good and services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for the particular year, and the sum of the production in the three sectors gives what is called as GDP of a country. So that is the sum up of the primary sector, then secondary sector and tertiary sector we call as GDP, or this also can be called as GNP, Gross National Product. So here this can be measured by using different approaches, so that also we will be discussing in the in the next slides. It is the value of all final goods and services produced within a country during a particular year, that is GDP shows how big the economy is. In India, the task of measuring GDP is undertaken by a central government ministry. This ministry, with the help of various government departments of all the Indian states and union territories, it collects information relating to total volume of goods and services and their prices, and then estimates the GDP. Now let us understand how to measure this GDP and components of GDP and GDP growth rate. The following equation is used to calculate GDP. GDP is equal to C plus L plus G plus, that is X minus M, or GDP is equal to private consumption plus gross consumption plus government investment plus government spending, that is again plus exports minus imports. The five main components of the GDP are private consumption or the gross consumption, then fixed investment, change in inventories, government purchases, and the rate. This we can measure in order to calculate the growth rate of nominal GDP. We need two nominal numbers in two different years, that is in year 1 and year 2, so that we find out the ratio, that is GDP in year 2 by GDP in year 1 minus 1. So here to calculate the same, we follow different approaches also, like expenditure approach, then income approach, then value added approach, then product method. So this we will be using to measure national income, then income method, expenditure method, and so on. Now let us understand what is a product method, which we use to measure national income. In this method, national income is measured as a flow of goods and services, where we calculate money value of all final goods and services produced in an economy during a year. Final goods here refer to those goods which are directly consumed and not used in further production process. Goods which are further used in production process are called intermediate goods. In the value of final goods, value of intermediate goods is already included, therefore we do not count value of intermediate goods in national income, otherwise there will be double counting of value of goods. To avoid the problem of this double counting, we can use the value addition method, in which we are not going to consider the whole value. Like that, we have income method and expenditure method. So while following these approaches, we also find some difficulties in measuring national income, so that also we have to take care. Right now we need not discuss about all those because that is not required at this stage. And again, to proceed with the next concept, let us quickly analyze what is a business cycle, because this is also very much related to Indian business environment. So first we are going to study a business cycle, then the characteristic features of a business cycle, then we understand the environment around it. A business cycle can be defined as wave-like fluctuations of business activities characterized by recurring phases of expansion and contraction in periods varying from 3 to 4 years. That is, a business cycle or a type of fluctuations found in the aggregate economic activity of nations that organize their work mainly in business enterprises. That is, a cycle consists of expansions occurring at about the same time in many economic activities, followed by similarly general recessions, contractions and revivals, which merge with the expansion phase of the next cycle. This sequence of change is recurrent but not periodic. So this we call as a business cycle. Now let us understand the SWOT analysis of Indian economy. The strengths of the Indian economy include its vast industrial presence in both public and private sectors, where we can see huge demand for domestic industrial goods, then availability of low cost skilled human resources, proactive government continued thirst on reforms, further liberalization and process, then increasing investment in real assets, that is capacity expanding inflow of FDI across industrial sectors. And weaknesses are presence of vast industrial sickness, then outdated labor laws, and presence of too many political labor and trade unions, unequal distribution of wealth, low literacy rates, dependency of subsidies, and inadequate and poor quality infrastructure, cost and time delays. The opportunities include growing competition of Indian industry due to focus on efficiency and quality, vast export market to explore, growing recognition of made in India brand in global market, major growth through opportunities, presence of demanding award winning firms, and growing number of overseas investment and acquisition by Indian firms. And the threats are heavy competition in manufacturing field from China, and power crisis and the virtuous growth cycling, that is in manufacturing sector, large informal sector, poor working conditions and low wages. Like this, the points which you can see, no, so these are considered as the threats in for the Indian economy. So the government need to address these timely, otherwise there will be it imposes a serious threat to the Indian economy. Now let us discuss about the economic indicators. So to before we understand what is economic indicator, let us answer, how do we know when we are in a recession? Is there any way to predict that a recession will soon occur? So these are the few doubts that may arise. To answer to this, the NIPA data comes out with a lag after the end of the quarter, and the neighbor certificates recession after turning points occur. So that is where they have given some leading economic indicators. So they indicate the recessions, or shortly, if the recession is going to occur, we can predict that. The first leading economic indicator is, this group includes 10 measures that generally indicate business cycle, which is maybe at peak or in tough time. They are the manufacturers' new orders for consumer goods and materials, and an index of vendor performance, manufacturers' new order for non-defense capital goods, and average work week in manufacturing, an index of consumer expectations, average weekly initial claims for unemployment insurance, like this. So they are called as the leading economic indicators. Like this, we have coincident economic indicators, then lagging economic indicators. So these are the few economic indicators, followed by the inflation. So studying properly the inflation scenario will also give us an idea about the recession. For that, we have to know what is an inflation. Inflation is the most experienced economic phenomena in India and in the rest of the world, where we have different types of inflation, like demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, structural inflation, and again we can even categorize that based on different types as coverage and scope, time of occurrence, then government reaction, rising prices, different causes, and people's expectation. So this also we have to study in order to understand the Indian environment. So in today's class we discussed about GDP. So the contribution of different sectors to our GDP, then how to measure GDP, then about business cycle, the economic indicators, then about inflation and SWOT analysis of Indian economy. Hope this has given an idea about Indian business environment. So in the next class we will be discussing about monetary policy and fiscal policy, where they are considered as the remedies of inflation and also deflation, the contribution of different sectors to Indian economy, as that is their contribution in for the Indian economy, the primary, secondary and tertiary sector.